Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Parts Counter Guru's News Desk, where we're going to go over a few hot topics of this week and have a quick little discussion and kind of bring you guys up to speed on some of the most important stories in the auto world and beyond.
Did somebody
Good
say
morning.
news?
Yes, news. From.
All right,
Right
so
on.
yeah,
How's it
so,
going? Hey, by the way, I'm inclined to introduce my business partner over here, Keith. For those of you watching, this is him. For those of you listening, this is him. And I'm Jay. Welcome in, guys. So let's talk about this. Let's get rolling.
So
What's
we're
up?
gonna. So it's a new segment we're doing. News of the week. Sorry, it's a Pavlovian response, man. I can't help it.
That's
okay, so let's get to some news articles. What do you got, Jay?
Well, the first one up is this. There's awful lot of recalls going on in the world, in the automotive world these days, and the most recent one that was just brought to our attention this morning, as a matter of fact, it hit the headlines. Apparently Toyota is recalling nearly 700,000 vehicles in the U.S. because of the fuel pumps can fail and causing the engine to stall. That is not a good thing, people. Just imagine being in the middle of an intersection.
All right, so the an interesting detail on this is so sometimes when these recalls happen by automotive manufacturers, you know, like Ford did one we talked about a while back with the engine block heaters, but it covered like a range of 5 or 6 manufacturing years.
Yes,
this is
yes,
2
it did.
model years. It's 2018 and 19. That's a lot of vehicles for just 2 model years in the U.S.
Oh, it is, and it affects a lot of those models. You know, both Lexus and Toyota. We're talking 2018 and 2019 year models. We're talking, you know, the LS 500s, LC 500s,
RC. There's a very good chance if you've got a Lexus, it's a 2018 or 19 model year, it's on this list. There's a lot of Lexuses.
Lexi. Let's go with Lexi. I like Lexi. I mean,
wow.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's like Larvae or Lave.
Yeah,
like,
right.
What do you,
yeah. Lexus, or is it just Lexus? You know,
Lexuses.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Lexuses.
now we've stepped into this. So, and then there's some actual Toyotas,
yeah,
right?
and I mean, yeah, and for those of you on in the Toyota world, man, there's a lot of the popular vehicles, man. I mean, the 4Runners, the Camrys, the Highlanders, the Land Cruisers, Sequoia, Sienna, Tacoma, and Tundra.
Somebody needs to reach out to Pandra and tell him that his truck's been recalled.
Yeah, hey, Alan, if you're listening, pal, you may need to talk to Toyota Tundra USA and see if they can check that out for you. But I'm sure it's on the list. But the Toyota Avalon, as well as the Corolla, those are very popular models. I can't imagine the task at hand here, but I would just assume, based on the world that I've worked in when this happened, they've got a plan of action in place. I would assume they've probably gone to another manufacturer of a fuel pump to take care of these problems. And just to give you guys an idea of if it's a fuel pump, typically it's relatively simple because fuel pumps are mounted now in the fuel tanks. So it's a matter of dropping the tanks and getting in there and switching that out, and then making sure that the lines are clear, and then cycle through the process and then get you on your way. That probably, I'm just going to assume, I haven't seen the bulletin on how many hours, but typically it's going to be around 3 to 5 hours to get that job done. So,
but if it's a recall, there's a very good chance, even if your car's out of warranty, that they got to cover that for you. No cost out of pocket.
Of course they do. Yeah, anytime it's a national recall like that by the manufacturer, it would be covered. If you get a notification in the mail, and they track all that by your vehicle identification number or your VIN number, you should just take it in immediately and at least get it scheduled, because I imagine they're going to be backing up at the dealerships to try to get these things done.
Right. So I want to mention 2 things on this one. First of all, we will put a link on partscounterguru.com to check your vehicle if you're looking for specific recall information for your vehicle if you own a Toyota or a Lexus. We'll put a link on the website. Go to partscounterguru.com. We'll probably just put it on the front page in the featured section, but if you need to look this up, we'll give you a link to do that to see if your vehicle is affected.
Yeah, and to follow up on this for ourselves, what I would like to do is follow this story and find out what the actual,
what's going on with it. Yeah,
what's going on with it. I mean, could it be an electrical issue? Certainly, it could be because it is an electrical component. But it also has, seals and stuff like that, working components on the inside that really could be damaged by increased amount of ethanol in gasoline.
You had to go there.
So I just wanted to bring that up. But I'd like to know just for my benefit because, we've worked very hard to these late model vehicles to be able to withstand the amount of ethanol that are in these fuels these days. So late model vehicles typically can handle most of that, but there are a lot of the earlier vehicles that haven't. But who knows? Maybe somebody missed something here. It's obvious they missed something. So have your VIN number handy, folks. That's what you need.
All right. Speaking of missing something, all right. Apparently NASA missed something big. They hired a 17-year-old intern. If you're an intern, I don't think you're being paid, but I guess technically you're still hired as an intern. On his third day of the job, on his third day on the job, this kid finds a planet.
Isn't that crazy?
6.9 times as large as planet Earth. So this particular article I found on CNBC, but it's been everywhere this week. During his junior year at Scarsdale High School in New York, Wolf Cookier, Cukier, landed a 2-month internship with NASA. So during the summer of 2019, he traveled down to NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. That's right outside of D.C. This kid's name is Wolf, so I would expect him to find planets, right? That's just right. So 3 days into his internship,
that or play bass for Van Halen.
Right.
One of the
that's
two.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, NASA announced this on their website. Looking through the data for everything the volunteers had flagged, and basically found a binary system with two stars around each other. I saw a signal from the system called TOI 1338. At first, I thought it was a stellar eclipse, but the timing was wrong. It turned out to be a planet. Okay, so
yeah.
NASA, you're now relying on 17-year-old interns to do your work for you. That's either a great plan or not so good. I'm still undecided on that one.
Yeah, but, I'm trying to figure out what is the paid help doing around there. I mean, this kid is a junior, and he's finding these major things. It could be a timing thing, man. I mean, it's like lightning in a bottle thing.
Well, here's one thing for sure, Jay. Science project, next school science project.
Yeah,
I mean, clearly he's the winner, right? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, he's got a
right.
If he doesn't have a scholarship from NASA alone because of this finding, I don't know what. But it was captured by NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, which is also known as TESS.
Here we go with the acronyms.
Acronyms, man. So, hey, we're going to be on the subject today. But, what I find amazing, and I'm so excited to be part of the technology as it's grown exponentially just over the last 10 years in regards to our satellite imagery of other planets, and, going way, way out into the universes and beyond. Just amazing to me what we can pick up, and I'm excited about it. Who knows? This may be the next hotel for us.
Yeah. I would. Yeah. Like, well, we're one step closer to Star Trek now, right? I mean, we got. We just need the ships to get there.
Well, what I want to do is I'd love to be able to just kind of transport. If they can come up with that. If that kid can figure that out, man. Oof. That'd be great, man.
Would you be? Who gets to test it first, though? I mean, I know they'd probably use like rocks and stuff first. But then
Elon.
if you're the first actual human being to get on one of those transporter devices, right? Particle transports or whatever they're called.
Right.
Like
right.
if you're the first guy, you're probably you're gonna want to make sure your life insurance policy is paid out. I'm just
pretty much. You know, you could be. I mean, you may find one piece over here, one piece over there,
or
I mean,
just a pile of guts just show up on the. All right.
Yeah. Ooh, blobs of stuff, man. Talking about splitting hairs. There you go. So right. So
all right.
So yeah,
what's next?
That's pretty cool. Well, you know, hey, we had a big week in the auto world this week, man. This is more exciting. This is not anything about recalls. This is about a story of a legendary vehicle. We talked about this previously on a podcast, and we're excited to let you guys know that the Bullitt, which is a 68 390 GT fastback that was driven by Steve McQueen in the movie Bullitt. It was sold twice in its history of existence for $3,500. The last buyer had it for 45 years, Keith? Is that about right? 45
right.
years.
Right.
And they just pretty much kind of stowed it away. The father passed away, and you know the son says that he didn't want to let it go, but they sure did build up a lot of buzz around this thing. But it sold this week at the Mecum Auto Auction in Kissimmee, Florida. For those of you geographically challenged, that's Kissimmee is just outside of Orlando.
Yep.
And they hold that auction there every year. Keith, why don't you go ahead and reveal what this thing went for? This is just amazing to me.
So we talked about this about 6 months ago, I want to say, on the podcast, and
about 6 months. Yeah,
we told everybody to keep a lookout, and promised that we would update. So this is the interesting thing to me. So depending on which news headline you read, and there's been a lot of coverage on this.
A lot of it.
The actual sale price of the vehicle, so at the auction, the bidding price was about $3.4 million.
Right.
It ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.7 to $3.8 million after all the auction fees.
That's right.
Which is just mind blowing to me that they can get $500,000 in or $250,000. Well, actually, between $250,000 in auction fees.
It's handling and advertising and all of those sorts of things, and just probably the hoopla that goes around it to bring it in. I would imagine, but you're right. I mean,
but
$500,000. One car,
just to pay for the auction fee itself. That's a good gig, man.
Yeah,
started at
$3,500, as just because the son wanted to kind of uphold the tradition of the vehicle, how it was sold so many times. This is what makes this car unique, and I think why it went. It is legendary, and if you've never watched that chase scene, and it's like a 10 to 12 minute chase scene, and if you watch that chase scene, man, you're watching him chase a Charger. And if you look at the vehicles around him for that year, there's the you've got the Camaro, the
comical.
Firebird,
Yeah,
it's incredible, and there's a bunch of Corvairs sitting around. I mean, this is like muscle car enthusiast heaven, man. Just in that one scene alone, I'm just amazed that the car made it through it.
Well,
with some of the roads, the conditions that they were driving on, and how it handled.
And they used it as an everyday driver until the clutch gave out, and I think it had about 60,000 miles on it when that happened. Now,
Mom didn't even know. They had no idea what it. I mean, they kind of just used it as they just.
Yeah, well, McQueen offered to buy it back at some point, and they were like, "Nah." But so there's a father-son project until the father passed away. Kind of a barn find. Not really though. They knew they had it. I think they did repair the clutch together, and then this is the part that's almost comical to me. When we reported on this, there was a lot of talk from the son about, it just had to be the right buyer, and we needed to make sure that, it was going to be, the spirit of the car was going to be Well, then why put it up for auction? Like, you have no control over who's going to buy it if you put it up for auction, dude. That is exactly the opposite of what you just said. But the offer spiked to $3 million within 3 minutes, and the hammer came down on a $3.4 million bid, the second highest price ever paid for an American muscle car.
Right.
The buyer has not yet been disclosed, but whoever it is on the hook for $3.74 million after auction fees are added on. I feel really good, Kieran, the seller, told NBC Sports after the auction. The whole family's happy.
I would be too.
Well done.
I watched it, and I timed it, man. This is incredible. From the minute that they started the auction at $3,500, within 10 seconds, it was up. They had a $1 million offer on it, and it went to $2 million in less than, I think it was like right around a minute and a half. And within 3 minutes, it was over $3 million. It was just, it kind of hung up around, 3.2, then got to 3.4, and it stopped. But if you looked at the car, because that was one of the things I wanted to see, is what kind of condition is this thing in? This thing is in the condition of what you would expect an everyday old 1968, 69 model vehicle to be in. It's got dents in the roof. It's got dents in the hood. It's got chipping paint. It's got, the tires look like they were bald on the thing. But what makes this thing most unique and I think most desirable for people, because it was used in this movie, it was driven by Steve McQueen. It still has the holes cut in the trunk where they had the smoke machine mounted. It still has the camera mounts where they were filming from the interior and the exterior. All of those things are untouched. These people I don't think they really knew what they had.
Yeah.
I'm blown away that a vehicle can bring, this kind of vehicle can bring this kind of money at an auction. It's insane. And the sister was standing right there. I was watching the expressions on her face. It was almost like you could have brought over an oxygen tank for her. You could tell she was just, well, they were happy for their dad too. You could see it in their faces that they were so happy for their dad. And so congratulations to those guys, man. What a neat thing, man. So,
yeah.
Right on.
So let's stay on the subject. We've got a couple more here. Let's stay on the muscle car subject, but over on the GM side.
Yeah, this is great.
Two GM employees jailed this week for racing the new Corvette C8.
Right.
So I'm looking for the news article here, but here we go. So this happened, from best I can tell, outside of Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is where that's the GM plant where they're making the new C8. We've covered this C8 extensively on the show. Apparently, these two guys. Let's see. According to Kentucky State Police, I'm not going to name the two guys that got stopped, but it was indeed in Bowling Green. They were doing over 100 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone.
That's awesome, man. But I don't understand why these guys are out there on the highway doing this when they've got a proving ground right there. They've got a track. Just go have fun on it. That's just insane.
Well, they may not have been cleared to be.
Now, is there anywhere in the article, in the news information about this? Because I haven't seen the whole news story. I've seen snippets of it, but were these production vehicles or were these just test models?
So I read a mention in the article, and it was just speculation, but the speculation was they were pre-production.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. So,
and wasn't one guy was like a CAD guy, a computer-aided design guy?
Yeah.
And I think the other guy was like an electronics guy or something for the company. So who knows, man? Maybe they were testing out some stuff that they were working on behind the scenes, and GM just didn't know about it, man.
Now here's what we do know that would support that. This is the official statement from GM. We are aware of an incident involving our test vehicles and currently investigating.
Yeah. They're probably back there going, guys, come on, man. Chill out, dude. Don't do that, man.
Automobile safety remains our overriding priority at General Motors. We have no further comment at this time. As for the Corvettes, police enlisted 2 towing companies to remove them from the scene and deposit them up at a tow lot, where a police representative said the vehicles were collected the next day, quote, by the owner. Presumably representatives of General Motors, because these 2 guys were jailed and then released on, I think, $1,000 bail. But whatever those cars were, they didn't, if they're sitting in a lot somewhere, that potentially means people could get cameras on them, and they didn't want that going on, so they went and got them.
Yeah, that's it's pretty fun. It's hey, thankfully nobody was hurt. But just so you guys understand, and how could these guys get away with that? If you're not familiar with the Bowling Green area, there are several freeways through there, especially Interstate 65 that runs right through the heart of Bowling Green. There, I say heart, but the downtown area.
Well, it runs right past the manufacturing plant.
It runs right
museum.
Past the museum and the plant. It's right through the middle of that area, and it's like 4 or 5 lanes wide on either side. So there's plenty of, and the road conditions are great. But not only that, there's also some of these bypass and like turnpike type highways that are around the Bowling Green area that are really super nice and smooth, and so it's achievable. And there's a lot of straight stretches. So yeah, hats off to you guys for trying it out.
Well, and you got to think about it this way, Jay. If I'm considering a Corvette, I'm now possibly not considering it, because if I'm going to buy a muscle car, I want one that can outrun the police, man.
Oh, for sure. Heck yeah. And it'd be interesting to know which, like I said, they clocked them well over 100 miles an hour.
One was doing 120. Actually, there were 3. The third one was not cited, so that means they weren't speeding.
I mean, I have read in some articles that they've gotten some of the top speeds up to around 170 on these things.
I'm going to guess, this is completely 100% speculation.
Yeah.
2 or 3 guys getting off work, high-level plant employees that had access to the automobiles through an employee purchase or lease program or whatever.
Right.
And just said, hey, what you say we we have a little fun. Perhaps there was a trip after work to a local bar and tavern kind of thing, and then this ensued after that. Yeah. I don't know what time of day it happened, but that would be my guess. Is these guys getting off work, little challenge ensues, it's game on, right?
Yeah. Hey man, yeah. Hey, what was Tom Cruise's name in Days of Thunder? You remember?
Cole Trickle.
Cole Trickle. Wonder if Cole was, you remember the scene where they had the rental cars?
Very much so. That was, I believe, a Ford Taurus. They proceeded to trash said Ford Taurus.
Right. I mean, when I heard about this, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. Oh my goodness, is Jeff Gordon doing another commercial, man, with the Camaro? What's going on?
Yep.
Who knows? Maybe we'll as the news develops on this story as well, folks, we'll follow up with you. I don't think these guys will spend any time in jail other than when they did initially. If they did, they'll get slapped with a big fine, and that'll be it.
Reckless driving, little community service. Kentucky
don't play. I'm telling you, they don't play. Now, interestingly enough, what is it? 7 miles from the state line, something like that. Tennessee state line. Yeah, and I'm pretty certain. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. I'm just little too much Dukes of Hazzard in my past, maybe, but
yeah, right, man.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We got one more, right? This is a good one. We're going to end on a good one here.
We have one more, man, and I got to tell you, Keith, I'm just going to say I'm speechless. It's one of those, man. What were they thinking? But when I heard the source and where the part of the world that it was designed, there seems to be some similar fails in the shopping world with this particular acronym that we're about to reveal.
One man's failure is another man's marketing genius. I mean, it just
this
depends
is true.
on.
This is true.
So the internet has lost their collective mind over this.
Yes,
it has been quite the topic of discussion for that very reason. You know, what were they thinking, or was this intentional? Do you want to go ahead and reveal the details?
Well, yeah. Let me go ahead and just get into the details that I have. Apparently, at the 2020 Singapore Motor Show, Subaru brought in a customized version of their Subaru Forester. It was on display.
Now it's a Forester, so it's Subaru's SUV. Okay?
It's an SUV. Yeah.
And this custom version, did they name it anything special? You know, like maybe the Ultimate Edition, or the Trail Teams, or the like the super all-wheel drive. You know?
Oh yeah. They couldn't bring it to the show without giving it some sort of, like, you know, SE special edition something.
Right. So they went with, of course,
Forester Ultimate Customized Kit Special Edition. Oh,
wait a second. Forester Ultimate Customized Kit Special.
For those of you in acronym world,
Forester Ultimate Customized Kit. Wait a second. FUCKS. What?
What the f were you thinking?
Okay,
what are you guys thinking? So apparently the Japanese, I am of the understanding that they have this fascination with American slang. They've used it in some of their sales ad, and had to quickly pull when they realized what they did. But no, this is a real deal. This is for real. It happens, and it is available. The Forester Ultimate Customized Kit Special Edition.
So here, let's role play for a second.
Okay.
Here, you be the sales guy, and I'm gonna call you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Bring, bring.
Hey, welcome to Joe Bob's Subaru. What can I do for you?
Hey, man, you got one of them. Subaru.
What'd you call me?
Yeah, man. I said I need one of them Subaru.
Oh, well, let me go back here and check. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that. I misunderstood you. Let me go check on the and I'll get back to you.
Wow. So,
wow, man.
In their defense, though, it did say that Subaru corporate did not necessarily have anything to do with this naming, that it was...
of course they didn't.
The U.S. division of Subaru said the company had nothing to do with the naming, and that the name was decided by an independent distributor, a company called Motor Image Group, who is the sole distributor of Subaru vehicles in 9 countries in Asia, including Singapore.
Yeah. So, and here's the deal. When you walked up to the booth where the car was on display, they had this huge, beautiful display. It's a great-looking car. It's blue, has some stripes, got some nice, painted brake calipers, and it's very customized. It looks pretty cool. But if you look at the display, the name at the bottom, it spells out the entire edition, but every single letter, with the exception of the last word, edition, is capitalized.
Yeah.
The first letter is capitalized to really emphasize on what we're calling it.
That is exactly why I think this was all intentional, because if it's
was
capital
very
F,
intentional.
capital U, capital C, capital K, capital S, and then lowercase e, and the addition sits underneath the rest of the words. So it's,
and it's all lowercase.
Right? All at the top, and then the addition with the E is underneath them. Yeah, man. I mean, come on. They knew what they were doing. And now they're getting, including us, man, they're getting tons of press on... I
love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Just keep doing this stuff so we have stuff to talk about, man. I mean, it's just...
I don't think there's going to be any shortage of...
no shortage,
of
right?
this sort of jackassery in the automotive world. Not in our lifetime.
No. And, we're not making this stuff up, folks. This is real. This is a real deal. And, we have to report the news. This is the automotive world, and we have to tell you guys about what's going on. So there you go.
Just doing the job.
Just doing the job, man. So, I think that's it, isn't it?
That's it for this time. So let me just quickly mention here a reminder to everybody, if you want information on that Toyota recall, hit our website at partscounterguru.com. You can also find other articles there. We've got all kinds of how-to, self-help, reviews, some outdoor stuff. So just remember to check us out. If you want to be alerted, I'll use that word, of our next news news release, remember to ring the bell. You can go ahead and leave us a comment in the comment section if there's stuff you'd like to hear about. We have a podcast as well. We'd be happy to consider things to talk about. But that is it for this time. So until next time, that's Jay over there. I'm Keith. Thanks for watching the news, everybody. We will continue to do our best to make you smarter than your friends.
Catch you next time, guys.